My most recent obsession is this court case, this lawsuit against Cardi B. All right. If you're not familiar with Cardi B, Cardi B is a rapper, and she is also a national treasure. Cardi B is incredible, and this case is pretty wild. Basically, what is being alleged in this case is that Cardi B assaulted a security guard. It's alleged that Cardi B assaulted the security guard, and you hear both stories throughout the case. The security guard's story is that she was at work, securing the building. And then Cardi B walks in, and then she's like, "Oh, Cardi B." And Cardi B didn't seem to like that she was approached, that Cardi B was like, "What are you doing right now? Why are you in my face?" And that Cardi B got nasty with her very quickly. And so they were in the elevator together, and she said that she followed Cardi B out of the elevator to clear up any confusion. I don't know if it was to apologize or anything, but she admits that she did follow Cardi B into the elevator and out of the elevator. And then she said Cardi B really lost it and started cursing at her and everything, and then started swinging on her and stuff, and that she got a little nick on her cheek from Cardi B scratching her face, right? And then the receptionist and the doctor that Cardi B was there to see, because Cardi B was in the building for a doctor's appointment, that they broke up the fight, and then everybody went about their way. But because of this assault, because of this nick on her face, she is suing Cardi B for about $24 million. I'll tell you right now, for $24 million, Cardi B could cut up my whole leg, okay? If Cardi B chopped up my leg and gave it back to me in a bucket, I would be like, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." $24 million. That's crazy. So then, Cardi B's account of things is that she was going to the doctor. At the time, she was pregnant. She didn't want anybody to know she was pregnant. She didn't tell anybody, and she didn't even tell her security guard where she was going that day, her personal security, because she was just trying to keep this whole thing private, right? And even the doctor's office had blocked out time just to make sure they didn't have other clients coming in back and forth, and Cardi B was going to be the last appointment of the day, right? So Cardi B shows up to the building, and then immediately she hears Cardi B, and so already that's not ideal, right? Like that could happen at any time. Cardi B is very famous, but then she is getting in the elevator, and then she notices the person who screamed Cardi B got in the elevator with her and has a phone in her face, and so she goes, "What are you doing? Aren't you security?" Because she had security on her hands. And then she's talking to her while she's in the elevator, and then she exits the elevator, and she says she can still feel this person behind her. So then she turns around, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you recording me? You gotta get out of my face. I'm trying to go to the doctor." And then that's when the person who was recording her, the security guard, got real angry and was like, "I could do what I want. It's my phone. This is my building," which is a misunderstanding of what security is. If that really was said, oof. I've never met a security guard who thought they were clocking in to own the building for a little while. But then they got into what Cardi B says was only a verbal altercation. There was the receptionist and the doctor that came into, I guess, the hallway to break things up. But she said, "I didn't touch her, she didn't touch me," so I didn't really think of it again, because if you don't know Cardi B, you should at least know that she's used to verbal altercations. I'm sure they don't stick with her. She was on Love and Hip Hop. And so then she just sort of goes about her life, and then she gets hit with this $24 million lawsuit. This whole thing, to me, just my opinion, but this whole thing feels like when that dude tried to sue Gwyneth Paltrow for millions. Remember that dude, Gwyneth Paltrow, if you weren't familiar with this, basically Gwyneth Paltrow went skiing one time, and then this other dude went skiing, and I don't know exactly how it went down, but I guess they bumped into each other at some point, and then the guy got up and he was like, "Wow, you're Gwyneth Paltrow." Oh, I'm ruined. No, because this is the thing. Coming after Cardi B seems like kind of easy in a lawsuit like this, just because she was on shows like Love and Hip Hop, and in Love and Hip Hop there's a lot of this. In Love and Hip Hop, whether you're watching Atlanta, Hollywood, New York, there's a lot of almost fights. You know what I mean? Usually it is stirred up by the producers. They get everybody nice and drunk, and then they're like, "Hey, you won't believe what she said," and then they always believe what she said. And so, you know, Cardi B's been known to pretty much never back down. In fact, there was this old case. I don't think anything ever came to it in like a court sense, but Cardi B was doing I think it was a festival, could have been a concert, and somebody threw something on stage. You know, somebody threw like a water bottle, and this has happened a lot in like the past. I don't know. People lost their minds through COVID and everything, and now people sometimes even film themselves throwing something on stage. I don't know if it's like to get a reaction out of the performer, and every performer has a different reaction to it. There are some people who, as soon as something gets thrown, they walk off stage, show's over, and they don't even try to continue. There are some people that try to dodge it, act like it didn't happen. There are some people that try to dodge it and then try to find the person who did it and get security to kick them out and everything. Well, basically, there was a time where someone threw a water bottle at Cardi B, and I believe she dodged it, but she must have seen who did it, because she immediately threw the microphone at them. They probably thought Cardi B was gonna be some easy pickings. They were like, "I'll throw my water bottle now. She's clearly unarmed." And can I just say, throwing a microphone at somebody is one of the funniest projectiles to throw. Because it's the only one where you get to hear their reaction to something being thrown at them in real time. Imagine Cardi B throw a microphone right back at them, and they're like, "Oh, is that a..." Last thing the crowd hears before the show ends is, "Whoa, watch out!" Even better if they turned around, they threw the water bottle, they're like, "I think I got it." And so, well, they had this court case, and I don't know. Cardi B better than me. If I were me, I'd be losing my mind right now. $24 million for. That's what she's alleged. Like, the security guard is alleging $24 million. I don't even think I got $24 million worth of head. I think even if I was in a horrific accident, I'd probably only get like 10, maybe. And that's with half the head missing. $24 million just feels insane. And so, you know, they go to court, and Cardi B's got a lawyer, security guard's got a lawyer, and security guard's lawyer does seem bad at this. I don't know the law. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even know some of the stuff they're saying. When they get into like the real nitty gritty, like the weedsiness of the law, I don't know what's happening, right? All I know from all my hours of watching Law and Order is that if you're a lawyer and you're talking in court, you're talking, right? And then the other side keeps saying objection, and then the judge keeps saying sustain, you're not exactly doing well. And that's what's been happening this entire trial. The judge basically sustaining the whole thing. Like, this lawyer for the security guard keep withdrawing his own questions mid-question because he can feel a sustain coming. And like, some of the questions don't have anything to do with anything. It's one thing if you're badgering the witness or you're really trying to like rile them up and get them to admit something, you try and catch them in a lie or something like that. It doesn't even feel like that's what's happening. This dude will just be asking questions that have nothing to do with anything or the case. It feels like he's just a Cardi B fan. The amount of times that Cardi B's lawyers have had to say objection, relevance is astounding. He's asking her all sorts of questions. At one point, though, he gets back on track and he asks Cardi B, you're saying that you felt threatened by my client. The security guard says, client, you saying you feel threatened by my client. I'm wondering why you feel so threatened. What was the issue? What was the issue? And then Cardi B says, I was pregnant and she's coming at me. I think she wants to beat me up and I'm pregnant. Hello? Hello? And then he goes, hello, hello. Hello, I'm here. And that's when it occurred to me that maybe what's happening is that this security guard's lawyer, maybe, just throwing it out there, potentially has never met a black person. I think if you've never met a black person in your life, and your first black person is Cardi B, that's a bit of a crash course. That would be like if I never met a white person in my life. Never met a white person, never talked to a white person, didn't even see one in a movie. Never met a white person. Then my first white person ever was Bill Nye the Science Guy. I think I might be walking away with some incorrect assumptions about white people. I think I go back home and tell all my friends and family, oh yeah, white people, they love space. No, they got a bunch of facts about turtles ready at the hip. Oh, and they love bow ties. Can't stop them from wearing a bow tie. The only time I've seen something like this exact moment, this type of thing, this like misunderstanding in that way, was on a TV show called To Catch a Predator. Okay, I don't know if you remember To Catch a Predator, but in case you never watched it, this was some insane reality TV. Basically, To Catch a Predator, they did just that. They would lure and then trap predators online who thought they were talking to underage kids, right? And they would have all these long conversations with them, and then they try to meet up with them. But when they tried to meet up with them, they would go to like the Sting house, right? And at this house, they would show up thinking they're meeting this underage person. Turns out they're meeting Chris Hansen. If you don't know Chris Hansen, you don't know Dateline. All you need to know about Chris Hansen was he was the To Catch a Predator. Oh, you would hate to see Chris Hansen coming if you were a predator. And so they would lure these predators to this house, and then especially season 1 was like no other thing. Season 1, when people didn't know what was happening, that was some of the wildest television I've ever seen. Because they didn't know who Chris Hansen was, all of them. Some of them did, right? But most of them did not. And so they'd show up to this house thinking that they're going to meet this underage kid, and they might even call out a name or something. Then Chris Hansen would walk in. Chris Hansen walk in holding some papers and everything. Now, because they don't know who Chris Hansen is, they think maybe this is the person's dad or something. So they immediately feel caught, but they don't know how caught they are. Right? So then Chris Hansen would walk in and be like, "Hi, how's it going?" And then he'd tell them to sit down, and they always sat down. Chris Hansen would sit them down, and then he'd ask them what they were doing here. And they'd try to come up with some sort of lie on the fly or something. And then he would ask them how they know this underage kid, and they'd try to come up with some lie on the fly, something like that. And then Chris Hansen would be like, "Oh, that's interesting because I have the transcripts of your conversation." And no matter what color they were, you watch the color leave their face. And then Chris Hansen would ask them what they meant by certain things in the transcript of the messages and stuff, and these people would just sink. They were just terrified, devastated, right? And then Chris Hansen would be like, "Okay, all right, you've answered all my questions. You can go." And even the predator would be like, "What? Really?" Like, yeah, you can go. You can go. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay. I mean, I thought my life was ruined or something. All right." And then they would get ready to walk out. And when they walked out, they were immediately tackled by the local police department.
And not just tackled, like properly football tackled. This would have been unnecessary roughness in the NFL. This is the only time nobody's gonna take you to task over police brutality. You know what I mean? Because the police, to their credit, they would announce themselves and say, "Get on the ground." They were just saying, "Get on the ground" when they were already airborne. Police would be in the air, legs up. "Get on the ground!" It's like, you know your shoulder about to be in his neck. They would tackle him, and they'd cuff him up, and then they'd throw him in the car, and they'd take him to jail. And then in jail, they would go to the interrogation room, and they'd have to answer all of Chris Hansen's questions all over again. I guess him asking was just practice. And there was this one time where this guy comes in, and I don't remember what season it was, but this guy had a very interesting aesthetic. Like he was white, but he had a very like Vanilla Ice vibe to him. You know what I mean? And so he walked in, but when he walked in, he was like. Chris Hansen walked in, and then when Chris Hansen walked in and told him to sit down, he was like, I. And then Chris Hansen does the thing that he does, asks him why he's there, asks him why he's been talking to this underage kid and everything. And then a thing I forgot to mention before that also happened in all the episodes was when Chris Hansen finally announced himself, where he was like, "I'm Chris Hansen with NBC's To Catch a Predator." Cameras would come out from all these different rooms, right? And it was always, without fail, too many cameras. It was always a number of cameras where I'm like, there's no way all those cameras on. There would be people with cameras in the hallway because they couldn't get in the kitchen, just lifting the camera up. Be way too many cameras. And so then the cameras roll in once Chris Hansen announces himself, and then this guy sitting there pulls down his cap a little bit and says to Chris Hansen and all of the cameramen, "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me?" Repeats it. "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me? You feel me? You feel me?" And Chris Hansen, without missing a beat, this man says, "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me?" And Chris Hansen says, "Yes, we are filming." And I haven't seen such a misunderstanding until the security guard's lawyer says to Cardi B, hello? Yeah, I'm here. That man lucky. That man lucky. Cardi B at no point in her testimony hit him with a like that. That would have broken his brain. That would have ruined his life. He would have bent his knees. Oh! Everybody get out! What's happening? No. Because once again, this dude is wild. This dude is asking her questions about things that have nothing to do with anything. At one point, I think he's really in his head. He's having his like Perry Mason runaway jury moment. Like he's doing something right out of Law and Order in his head because he gets his planted stance. He starts going in on Cardi B and he says, today versus yesterday, all right? Yesterday, you had short black hair. Today, it's long blonde hair. 2 days ago, it was long black hair. Which is it? I thought he had her. That was incredible. I don't know what I think he expected Cardi B to be like, I don't know. Oh no. What's happening? I thought he probably had some follow-up questions ready. He's like, if you're changing your hair, how do we know you're not changing your story? All right? Miss Cardamom Basil. If that is your real name. And Cardi B just laughed it off. She was like, they're wigs. Like, what do you want me to do? And then, he gets into the stuff that's more relevant to the case, and he's trying to grill her back and forth with question after question after question. And he finally gets to this point where he's like, why did you feel threatened? She says the pregnancy thing and everything. But he's like, you said yourself that my client is about your height. Why would you be intimidated by her? And then Cardi B goes, yeah, I mean, she's a little bit taller than me, but she's bigger than me and everything. And I don't know what she wants to do. Now it seems like this person wants to beat me up. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they went from wanting a picture to beat me up or just wanted to beat me up and record. I don't know what's happening, right? And so then this guy goes, why are you so intimidated by it? You're saying that she's bigger than you. What makes you say that? And then Cardi B goes, do I have to say it? No. And then he's like, are you calling my client fat? Are you calling my client fat? All right? Did you call her fat that day? In fact, you called her fat that day, didn't you? And then Cardi B is like, no, I was only calling her the B word. Like, it was really just that. I didn't really have time for anything else, Sort of said that over and over again. Didn't really get to work in any other details. And this lawyer, I don't know, like even it's like now what we're getting into is stuff that I guess isn't nice, but I don't know how it helps his case, because then he just keeps egging it on. He's like, but you said that and you said other things, didn't you? You said other things. And then Cardi B, to her credit, it starts admitting everything that she said, right? She starts just repeating verbatim in court. She just cursing in court openly, just non-stop cursing in court, right? And he's like, is that what you said? Say exactly what you said. I mean, she's right here, right now. Say it again. Say it to her face. Say it again. And then even Cardi B is like, what is happening? Like, you want me to curse her out again? Like, is this one like a freebie or something? Like, I can't tell what's happening. It's like, no, you were so threatened. You were so completely threatened by my client. What makes you so threatened? And then she's like, well, at the time I was pregnant and I was 130 pounds. All right. And then she was like twice my size. You know what I mean? And then once again, he gets on the same thing. He's like, are you calling my client fat? And she's like, no, I'm not saying. She just, No, what? I don't know. What are you trying to say? Say it. Say what you want to say. There's no harm here. Say it. She's security heavy. That's so much worse. And this man keeps going. He's like, what do you mean security heavy? What are you trying to say? She's security heavy. What does that even mean? And Cardi B is like, she built like she protect buildings. If it were me and I was Cardi B, I'd probably be sitting there furious. Cardi B better than me, I'd probably be sitting there so angry. I'm just trying to live my life. I was trying to go to the doctor privately. My business is always out there. People get paid to get up in my business and everything. And I'm just trying to have a quiet moment. I'm not feeling well. I believe was her first child and everything. No one knows that she's pregnant. And then this whole thing blows up and then she gets sued for $24 million. She's better than me. I'd be sitting there furious at that lawyer. And if I was a security guard sitting there watching this happen, I'd be furious at that lawyer. What are you doing? You just getting me roasted in open court. This doesn't feel like it's getting me any closer to $24 million. Oh. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm better than anybody, okay? If times get tough, if things get rough for me, I run into George Clooney. It's just me and George Clooney in the hallway. I know I haven't been able to pay my rent or anything. Is his word against mine? I'm gonna see George Clooney. I'm gonna put my hand on the ground. I'm just gonna. Look at what George Clooney did to me. Why would Ocean's 11's George Clooney do this? I thought he was a good man. I can't believe that Ocean 12's own George Clooney would step on my hand like this. What's that you say? He still owns the tequila company? Oh no. Who would have thought Ocean's 13 George Clooney would be capable of something like this? I thought he'd be president one day. Nah, easily. It doesn't have to be George Clooney. I don't even need like A-list. I really don't. If I see Neil deGrasse Tyson Times are tough. I run into Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm throwing a bowling ball straight up in the air and catching it with my head. I was like, oh no! I can't believe Neil deGrasse Tyson did one of Newton's laws of motion to me. I think it was the first one. Oh. Doesn't have any popular person will do, you know. If I see William H. Macy, I'm gonna run into a wall like that dude from the show Fargo. I'm gonna run right into. If I ever meet William H. Macy, he better pray we outside.
Because if she's trying to get money out of Cardi B, you know, this is not the way. She over here admitting that she only got nicked. Just a little. That quick. That. And she said that she had to have 2 plastic surgeries.
Even brought the plastic surgeon to court, and the plastic surgeon came into court with a picture, right? Now, the plastic surgeon, this is also why I feel like this case is bogus, because she doesn't have a picture of the scratch from the day that it happened. Her plastic surgeon had to come in and do a before and after picture, and honestly, I don't know if that dude, the plastic surgeon, I don't see what he did. Like, it's... Even when they tried to show the cut, like the little scar that Cardi B supposedly gave her, maybe they didn't zoom in enough. Like, I don't know but they had the little line pointing straight to it, and I'm squinting. It doesn't even look like Cardi B did $24 of damage.
Oh, you try and get money out of Cardi B. This is not the way to do it. All you got to do is make sure y'all are still alone. The other problem, and the reason this whole case feels fishy, is because her lawyers, and I suppose even her, didn't want the receptionist or the doctor that broke them up testifying. That seems suspicious. If I got $24 million worth of damage done to me, I'd call everybody who was within earshot. You know what I mean? Oh, you heard me. You remember? I was like, oh no, $24 million just fell out of my face, right? So the fact that her lawyers didn't want those people testifying seems fishy. And then you kind of understand why. I don't know if she was a fully surprise witness or anything, but I know they were trying to block it for a long time. And so the receptionist finally sits down on the stand and testifies, right? And the security guard's lawyer is over here asking just all the relevant questions, right? And some of the questions are getting objected to and then sustained because they're a little leading. You know what I mean? Like he asked a question about how wasn't it my client's job to see fit who should and should not be in the building? And then obviously Cardi B's lawyers objected, because how is the receptionist for one office building in this entire building supposed to know all the ins and outs of the security guard's job, right? And they get to this moment where the receptionist comes out because she says that she heard a commotion, and she gets out there and Cardi B is up against a wall like this, like back up against the wall, and security guard is yelling in her face, right? And so then she, immediately upset by what she's seeing, gets in between the two of them and is breaking it up and tells the security guard, I don't know what's going on here, but you need to go back to your post. This is very unprofessional, everything. And everybody's screaming just so everybody can be heard, right? And the lawyer gets excited. He's like, and so do you think that this could be the moment that Cardi B scratched my client's face? And then the receptionist goes, actually, I'm really the only one that got hit out of the both of them. Like, I was... You know, you try to be a good Samaritan, but...
And not only does she say that she's like the only one that got hit between them, but she got a scratch on her face, a scratch that bled, and a scratch on her face that bled that came from the security guard. You could tell the lawyer's out here panicking. He's... Whoops. Okay. All right. And so then he starts, in my opinion at least, sort of like badgering her a little bit with questions to try to like double back from the fact that now it looks like the only person that may have assaulted someone is his client. And so he then says, he's like, yes, but you also weren't there the entire time, so you didn't witness the entire altercation. Maybe Cardi B spit on my client before you got there. Maybe she scratched her face before you got there, but you got there and you broke it up and you say that you didn't see anything. But maybe something happened before you got there. You don't know. You don't know. And then the receptionist was like, yeah, I guess I didn't know what it was like to be there till I was there. Yes, I suppose. You got me there. Because it's not just the scratch, I should point out. The scratch is the main thing, but the security guard is also, to my knowledge at least, alleging that Cardi B got her fired as well. You know? And then they had the doctor testify. And I won't say that the security guard's lawyers tried to poison the jury, because they were pushing a narrative the entire time. And the narrative was that obviously the receptionist and the doctor would back Cardi B because she was a client of theirs, a patient. So it benefits them to back up her story, right? And they even say as much while the two people are on the stand, you know. But then the receptionist says, no, actually, the security guard hit me up and said we should sue Cardi B. And I was like, nah, because you started it. Which is also not great for a security guard's lawyer. He's over here, okay, well, look, nothing further. And then they had the doctor testify. Now, the doctor was the last to sing, so by the time he comes out, the receptionist is getting in between Cardi B and the security guard. So he said he was also very upset about what was happening, you know, and he was trying to make sure this thing got broken up. Now, the doctor said, look, what I saw wasn't just unprofessional, it was very concerning to me. And I got out there, and the only thing I could think to do was try to match the body language of the security guards. I don't even know what that means, but I imagine it means he ran up out there, he saw three people arguing, and he was like, hey! Cut that out! Because by his own account, it's not like he the one pulling people from people or anything. Reception has already broken it up and taken some punishment, and so... And then took Cardi B in, they had their appointment and everything, and then he was so disturbed by what happened and what he saw that he reached out to Superior for the security guard, and, you know, said that soon after that she was taken downstairs during a shift and like let go, right? And that also doesn't look great for her case, because she alleges that Cardi B got her fired, and now this dude in open court was like, no, it was me. It was me. It was me 100%. And I guess I'm just coming from a place of like, if you really wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you don't wait until there's other people involved that are all going to have different accounts of what happened. If you wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you just walk up to Cardi B before she gets in the elevator and say, hey, Cardi B, how you doing? And then
throw yourself down some stairs.
That's gonna be the easiest way to do it, you know? Throw yourself down some stairs, all the while screaming out Cardi B singles for every step that you hit. You finally hit that last step, you're like, oh, why would top charting artist Cardi B do this? Oh, she's really about that life. These are bloody shoes.
San Francisco, California. Please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I've been having trouble. I can't stop thinking about how we've gone from this like 36-hour news cycle that we were kind of in last year to now this sort of 12-hour, maybe even 6-hour news cycle that we're in now. It's just everything bombards you all the time, and there's no time to take in a story as it's happening. As soon as a story happens, there's another thing to replace it that's the big deal for this 20 minutes, you know? And it's hard to even vet stories now. Like, there'll be a story that seems like a big deal, but the more you think about it, the more you're like, why'd you tell me that? But it'll be big news for a second, and then it'll be like, oh, but then that was just wasting my time, okay? Like, I don't know if you saw, but apparently, after all this time, they've nailed it down. They've solved it. Apparently, we got Jack the Ripper. Some would say a little late. Some would definitely say that all the women alive now are worried about the men alive now. But at least we got Jack the Ripper, you know? He eluded us for a while, but he couldn't hide forever. Apparently, some guy claims he nailed it down with some DNA, and after I finished reading it, I was like, yep. Think he got away with it. Because that's the thing, it's like you're inundated with so many different notifications, so many different news stories going down the line. You can't even enjoy the little things that aren't even quite news, but like, remember when a video would be viral for like a whole day? And we'd all share it for like a day. We at least used to have a day. And now there's so much news, you don't get to enjoy anything for like a full day. And not everybody even sees the thing that's dope. Like, this is just me personally, but I've very much been enjoying how terribly these Dove releases have been going at funerals. In case you're not familiar, there are some funerals where everybody can't get like a 21-gun salute or anything like that. So they'll do something special, whether the funeral director suggests it or the family wants it, and they'll have these doves. And it depends on how they want to do it for the funeral, right? Some people say some sweet words and they release one dove at a time. Some people say some sort of message. They give a eulogy either at the cemetery or at another special place to the person that passed, and then they release all the doves at one time. But one thing that's been happening consistently is they will stand people in a line and give them the cue to release the dove. And when you see a dove release, it does make you feel something. It's like a powerful thing. I understand why it's such a symbol for people. But the last few videos I've seen, the doves do just sort of die rather than fly away. There's one video that is truly spectacular. It is art to the point where I worried it was a sketch. There's 3 family members standing in a row, and this first one's cue to throw the dove up, and she even bends her knees a little bit, really give it some oomph, and the dove bounces off her hands and then bounces off the ground. As she snaps back, she's like, ooh, I hope that's not an omen. And then the second person releases their dove, and that dove flies off beautifully. And you're like, okay, not so bad. And then the third person goes to release his dove, and I think he knew his was dead. If anything, I feel like he pitched that one. He was trying to like, if I can toss it high enough, maybe it'll wake. There was another funeral where they were doing dove releases, and they had like 5 people lined up, and they were doing a different like stanza to this poem, and at every break in the stanza they released one of the doves and stuff, and they were getting close to the end. So this I don't know if this woman was number 5 or number 4, but she was whispering at the funeral director the entire time, "He dead." And the funeral director's like, what? Hand me another one, he dead. And the funeral director's like, that's all I brought. What do you mean that's all you brought? He clearly dead. She's like, funeral director looking at him, trying not to interrupt the beautiful poem that's being read, and he's like, no, he's asleep. He's asleep, he'll wake up, just throw him, he'll wake up. You throw him, he'll wake up. And they released the second picture, and the third picture is right here, and she's like, this is a dead bird in my hand. Don't play with me. Find another bird. And it's like, I swear it's asleep, just throw it. And then the third person throws theirs up, and then they read the poem, and the woman is standing there like, you could tell they get the like last couple lines of the poem, and this woman holding this bird goes, she just tried to like waste bird up, and then they end the poem, everybody looking at her, and the field director like, and then sure enough, she go to, and the bird just plopped down. And she was looking at the field director, daggers, like, this your boy? And then the fifth person, their dove fly off, no problem. So everybody got a good dove, except for her. I felt for her. One thing I don't know if everybody thinks about when it comes to those dove releases is where they go. What's next? I don't know anything about this, so I don't know if the dove returns and they just know to go to the funeral director's house or something. I'm assuming they start a new life. Like, I'm assuming the dove gets thrown in the air. It was like, what a beautiful ceremony. I didn't know him, but y'all sent him off right. And then they fly off and try to get things going themselves. I'm just trying to imagine what it would be like to be like a released dove at a Bronx funeral. You're a released dove at a Bronx funeral. And then you land on some roof somewhere, you're like, all right, I guess I gotta get my bearings. And then a pigeon land right behind you, just, what's up, sweet thing? Pigeon just seemed like a very rub the belly bird, It's like, how you doing, huh? Hey, you looking fine as hell, no spots or nothing. Hey, you must be new to the city. Let me show you around. I know where the good spots are. That's the world we're in now, you know. Nothing but news stories, non-stop. Everything's coming at you. We've gone from this 36-hour news cycle to the 12-hour, 6-hour, 4-hour on a really bad day. And you cannot care about everything. You can't, like, you want to have empathy, and especially when something's big, you want to care about it for as much attention as you feel like it deserves. But then another thing happens, and you're just daisy-chained bad news all the time, or what's supposed to be important news all the time. And so sometimes things fall out of your head because you're like, I can't focus on everything at once, and some things I can't do anything about. You know? And so after a while, you haven't heard about something long enough, you just assume it's been resolved if nobody's talking about it. But nobody's talking about it because there's so many things to talk about. And you also have to measure up how you feel about the world right now with the fact that everyone trying to give you news about the world also wants your money. They want a subscription from you. So they're just inundating you with all this stuff because, like, maybe you'll like news from us, so we'll just keep sending you notifications. Because there's always a lot happening in the world. That's not different. The fact that we have access to it is different. Like, I was thinking about all of this last week. I was just sitting there and thinking to myself, dang, we never did get those astronauts down. What's the plan? That was a while ago. We should probably do something about that. And look, it's not like I can do something about it. You know, I care, but I can't help. It's a lot like when your loudest, dumbest friend is in a bar fight, you know? And they're over there talking trash, or you're like, he over there, though. I would never be able to get there in time. There's nothing I could possibly do. He's kind of on his own, which is a shame. I wish I could help, but he's all the way over there, and that other guy is very big, and no one was talking to me. So, in case you don't know, in case you missed it, which is understandable, there were two astronauts that went up, Butch and Sonny, and they went up to the International Space Station, and they were the first to, I believe, man this Boeing Starliner. So they went up in this Boeing Starliner, which some would say was a mistake. Because I don't know how many news stories you consumed last year, but Boeing was not having a fantastic year. And Boeing has different divisions, by the way. It's not all one thing. It's one company, but it's not all one thing. Everybody's not working on everything at the same time. So the plane people and the space people aren't necessarily the same, but by and large, as a company, wasn't looking good. You know? And so they went up to the International Space Station with this Boeing Starliner, and I'm not going to act like I understand or know how to do what astronauts do. I don't get it, and I'm glad that they do, because astronauts, NASA, all of these experiments that they do in space have yielded incredible things for us down here on Earth that you wouldn't necessarily even connect to space, you know, like memory foam, inner ear thermometer. All the times that they've had to solve a problem up there, it's led to us having something dope down here. So keep going to space. I think that that's great. I don't know what you do up there, but all I know is it makes my life better, and I appreciate it. You know, because everything I know about working in space, I know from the movies. And whenever I see it in the movie, it's just the astronaut outside of the ship with a wrench. Every time I see it, it's Sandra Bullock or Bruce Willis outside the ship, just I don't know what it is about space that makes screws so loose, but like, I genuinely assumed that a quarter of being an astronaut was just tightening. I don't know why space is so loose, but it's just you gotta keep it tight all the time. And so they send them up there, and this Boeing Starliner had a bunch of other problems. It had a bunch of other issues on the sort of unmanned tests that they were doing, and so it's very brave of them to even go up there and be doing these experiments and try to make a better world for us. They get up there, and they're supposed to be up there for like 8 days, right? And I don't know if they caught it or it got caught down here, but there were a bunch of problems with the Boeing Starliner. Some of them were helium leaks, because helium is incredibly hard to just capture, just keep it so light, and it's very easy to escape. And then they were worried about the thrusters, and so they were worried about control issues if they were to come down, right? Because Boeing used to be a better company. Boeing used to be a company that put engineers and innovation first. And then they had a bit of a merger, and that merger started to prioritize shareholders, prioritize the money. And so some of that innovation, some of those engineers started to fall to the wayside, and you have what we get now: planes that make you a little nervous and ships that only go one way. Because, make no mistake, Butch and Sonny are fine in the sense that they are the most seasoned astronauts that we have. Sonny has logged potentially more hours than I think any. She had 322 days in space, and she has logged like 50 hours of spacewalking and everything. She's like a true veteran, and even before that, she was a diver in the Navy, and she piloted combat helicopters. Like, she knows what she's doing. And Butch is the same way. Butch had already been on missions before this. And to be fair, this was going to potentially be one of their last missions. And so for them to go up in space for those 8 days, them getting some extra days, maybe they don't mind. I just am trying to not project how I would feel. Because if it were me, because once again, I'm not an astronaut. I can never be an astronaut. Not good enough at math, throw up too easy. So I don't give off astronaut, right? But if it had been me, if I had gone up into space, it was supposed to be 8 days, and then they were like, ooh, that ship, may not be able to send you back down in that ship, I would be like, oh, okay, cool. So when's the next ship coming up? And so some of this is being explained to me by my friend, so forgive me if I'm like a bit incorrect, but he's saying that not only are they good because of how seasoned they are and how much they genuinely love being in space, but also because they have these like pods and stuff and different things they can send up to give them supplies, give them food and everything, give them things to continue their experiments, more wrenches. I don't know what it is, but like, they can send stuff up. And so in my head, I was like, oh, okay, all right. Like, if you can send stuff up, like you can send a pod up or whatever, then why don't they just, hop in the pod when all the food, like after they get all the food out and they eat the food, oh, delicious, and then they get in, they could get in the pod, right? And then take the pod down. He's like, no, it doesn't actually work like that. It's not a manable ship, and it's too small and everything. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Why don't they make a bigger pod? Enough to fit people with just some seats, just for fun, just some seats. And then they send that up, and they could even put like an Xbox controller in it, just to have something, and then send them down with that. And he's like, Josh, it doesn't work like that. Like, everything you're saying doesn't make any sense. And I was like, okay, I understand that everything I'm saying doesn't make sense, but the way it does work is also sound like it doesn't make sense. To me. Just to me. All right? I'm not Butch and Sonny, and I'm not going to speak for them. I'm talking about if I was in space for too long, if it was me, which it will never be. It's not going to happen. I would pass out. So this isn't even a problem that we really have to discuss. I just couldn't get it out of my head. Because in my head, it's like to send me something, but not let me come back down, and the thing you sent me would be like if I was stranded. Imagine, stranded on Earth. Let's say I'm just stranded on Earth somewhere, and you're worried about me, and you're worried about me having supplies, having food and everything. So you send me an Uber Eats. But then you go, no, don't get in the car. Don't get in the car. That's not how this works. This is not a car. This is a burrito car. See, you don't understand rocket science. This is a burrito car. You just try to get in any kind of car you want. That doesn't make sense. Stay there till we come get you with a car. Oh, it's tough. It really is. Because if you read articles and if you listen to interviews with Butch and Sonny, they're not just in great spirits. They, if they're to tell it, are getting all this extra time in space. Space is their passion. It's their happy place. And so it's somewhere where they can go that is unlike where any of us can go. They see a perspective of the earth that most people will never get in person. That's beautiful. And the expanses that they get to wake up to, that's incredible, you know? And so if this really was going to be one of their last missions and it lasts all this extra time, there is something to be said for like, wow, I really got to spend a surprising amount of time in space. And I hope they feel that way. I really do. I just know if it was me, I would also be putting a good face on. So that way, everybody's working real hard to bring me down, and I can whoop some ass. That would be... Because you know how when you're on the phone with like customer service or something, you got to be extra nice, even though you get madder and madder and madder. Because if you start cursing, they're like, every time you swear at me, my computer seems to jam up. I don't know how the two are related, but they definitely are. May want to fix your attitude. No, I'm playing as nice as possible until I get down. And best believe when I get down, we're having it out. And I'm not even like a bad man like that. I can't even fight, but I tell you, I'm biting the first person I see. I cannot swing, but best believe I will catch a mouthful of your chin, all right? You leave me up there all this time? What's wrong with you? You must be out of your mind. You got me. Because look, I believe it. I believe that they love being in space, but everybody has a bad day. And I think a bad day in space is an extra bad day. Let's say you wake up, and it's just one of those days. You wake up wrong side of the pod. You know, very upset. And all you want to do is brush your teeth and maybe go read a book or something. You know? But you take your eyes off your toothbrush for 1 second. Now all of a sudden you... Grab the toothpaste. Oh. Or maybe, you know, you got your coworkers up there. Butch and Sonny, I'm sure they get along, but there's other people in the space station that can leave. And so I'm sure, you have your disagreements with your coworkers. We all have it. We all have it. You want to storm off. It's very difficult in space. You want to storm off, but it just doesn't hit the same. Because when you storm off, you want everything to be perfect. You want to be loud as you storm off. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? You want the feet to be slamming. If you slam a door, you want it to really shake after it slams and everything. You don't get any of that in space. I remember one time I was trying to storm off. I felt like I was in the right, and I was done. I was really angry, and I tried to storm off. But I had a small hole in my shoe, and it had rained the day before. And so I was squeaking as I walked off. And that's a hard thing to come back from, because I had the storming off words ready. I was like, this discussion is over. So sure enough, you want to storm off in space. Maybe your coworker's making you mad. And you've had enough of it. You've been up here for, 2 extra months or whatever. You just want to go. So you're like, all right, that's how you feel. That's how you feel? All right, then you know what? You can finish the experiment yourself, because I'm out of here. I'm trying to leave. I can empathize with where the astronauts are coming from, because I worked at a grocery store, right? And give me a second. That is wild. In the time I'm talking, I haven't built up enough trust that there's a point that I'm trying to... Y'all are rude. That's wild. Okay. Anyway. I used to work at a grocery store. And I worked at this grocery store, and one of the reasons I wanted the job and one of the reasons I got the job is because my apartment was only going to be 1 mile from my home store. So I could walk to work, and if I was late, could run, right? And then sure enough, when you get hired by this particular company, when you work for the company, you don't work just for that one store. You work for the district. And so what they can do is they can put you in different stores if they need to patch up. Maybe somebody quit and they need to patch up some shifts or something like that. And so when I first get hired, I'm willing to go wherever. And I'm only at my home store, but I'm taking up people's shifts. If anybody needs to switch with me or needs me to take their shift, I'm taking it if I can. I'm coming in every time they call me in because somebody called out. I'm actually coming in so much that I get a bunch of overtime, then they get mad at me and tell me to stop. But I was like, you called me. So I'm sorry I didn't self-snitch on the way in that this was hour 48 this week. Like, thought you needed help. And then one day, I get put on a different store, a store that's really far from my apartment. And it was because someone had quit abruptly, and so they needed someone there that week. So it was only supposed to be that week. And I get there. I had never been to this store before, but it's in a bad, it is in a remarkably unfortunate, it is in a bad neighborhood, okay? And I don't mean bad neighborhood as in like they have crime sometimes. I'm talking about fundamentally everything about this place felt like the worst version of the Twilight Zone. This is the only place I've ever seen on 3 different occasions a rat walk out of the trap. And Tom and Jerry style, like really starting his day, yawning and everything, stretching his legs and stuff. going about his day. And it was one of the big industrial traps. I don't even know what's in those things, but it's supposed to kill rats. And that's where he was chilling. So these are grizzled veteran rats. And I go in the store first day, I'm ringing people up and everything. And this one person comes to my line. She only had one item. I scan her protein bar. She pays me, and as she's paying and she's putting the cash in my hand, she leans in a little bit, which was odd. That's not something that you normally do. And then when I'm handing her change, she says, "Thank you. There's a poop in aisle 5," and then walks out. And I'm sure she didn't do it. I'm sure she didn't do it. But the way she walked out so quickly, I was like, do you have something to do with this? And so it's not really my problem. I'm hoping she was just joking. And so I just keep ringing people up, right? I'm just continuing to ring people up. And then my manager comes over, and my manager is like, "Hey, Josh, we gonna switch you off a register and put you on the floor for a little bit. Because, there's so many crazy things happening today. And so I'll go ahead and switch with you." And so then I had to count out my till and then go to the floor. Now, I'm still not electing myself to go to aisle 5, right? I went straight back to the back room to grab some chips that were out in front. And so I grabbed the box, and I'm opening the box and, starting to stock the chips. And I hear a scream. And so I'm like, okay, it must be real. I just hear someone go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And so then I just keep stocking because I'm like, I don't want that to be part of my life, right? And then I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's my manager. She's like, "Hey, there's a whole situation on aisle 5. If you don't mind checking it out real quick." And in my head, I'm like, I thought you were gonna be ringing people up. You just been trying to set me up this whole time, using some very convenient language. And so I walk over to aisle 5, and I see it, right? And the only thing on aisle 5, on the way to aisle 5, by the way, I passed 2 people who were running away from aisle 5. Fully bumped me out of the way. Just like, huh, huh, huh. Like when you're in a zombie movie and everybody's running in one direction, but you got the shotgun, so you got to head towards the zombies. And so then I turn the corner, I see it, and the only thing on aisle 5 is it and one guy, and that one guy is looking at it, and then he looks at me and goes, "I didn't do it." Didn't think you did, dog. I understand you being just as shocked as I am. And so then I go to the back because I don't really know what to do. You know what I mean? This has been laid at my feet, and I don't feel prepared. And so I grab the broom and the dustpan and the kitty litter. And so that I go ahead and scoop and litter and everything. And that was day 1. That was the first day that I worked at that store. The second day, this older lady walked up to me at the register. I started ringing her up and everything, and she was hitting on me hard. And she was hitting on me in the way that older people can hit on you because they're not saying anything vulgar, but they're being very vulgar at the same time. They're not using the words, but you can tell the intent is there. And so she walked up and she was like, "Hi, young man." And I was like, that's the wildest I've ever been called young man in my life, because she really hit that hard A with the man. It lasted forever. She's like, "How you doing, young man?" And I'm sitting there like the name tag says Josh. Like it. And so I'm bringing her up and she's like, what you doing later? And I was like, oh, work. I'm just ringing things up as fast as I can. And then she's like, can you bag it for me? I was like, sure. So I'm putting it in the bag. She looks at me and she's like, I like the way you do it. And I'm like, you can see what I'm saying. Like this is X-rated what she's doing to me right now. But it's all under the radar. It's all, if you try to call her out for this right now, she'd be like, I'm not doing anything. But like, we can all hear it together right now. Like, I like the way you do it. I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks so much. Meanwhile, I'm just ringing up can after can of prunes. It's just nothing but prunes. It's like the store's worth of prunes. In my head, I'm like, there's no way she's going to be able to carry all this. I put the last one in the bag. And she was like, I'll see you when I come back. And I've never felt more undressed in my life. It was day 2. And day 3, I was ringing somebody up. My manager walks up and they're like, hey, just so you know, watch that guy over there. You know, turn your head, watch that guy. And she pointed to this dude and she was like, look, we forgot to mention this, but he does come in here periodically. And you just need to watch him because he will eventually start arguing with the cantaloupes. And I always try to be respectful of my bosses and stuff, but I did turn to her like, what am I supposed to do about that? Break it up? Like, what do you expect? Why you even tell me this information? We have a security guard, right? And so I'm bringing people up, and like 5 customers later, I hear in the distance, don't talk to me like that. And so immediately I turn my head to our security guard. Our security guard, all I see is his back foot walking out of the store. Because we always had security guards on hand because it's a bad neighborhood and everything, but at the same time, they were allowed to take their break whenever they wanted. So then I think he saw the cantaloupe argument breaking out. He was like, that sounds like a great time to have a snack. I'm hearing a snack right now. And so my manager comes over and she's like, we should go say something. And so we walk over and this dude's holding this cantaloupe and, you know, letting the cantaloupe have it. And he's like, you always do this. And so I'm like, hey, sir, how you doing? Hello? Hi. And he's not listening to me at all because this is the point in the argument where he got his receipts ready. He's like, no, because last time you said, he's like making all of his really good points and he doesn't want to be interrupted. Right? I was like, hey, could you just keep it down a little bit? You're scaring some of the other customers, right? And this guy was like, oh, I'm sorry. Which I could not have seen coming. This guy goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get loud. It just, you know how it is. I was like, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, cool. I'll go back to ringing people up, and then like several customers later, maybe 10 customers later, I see this dude in my line. And I start ringing up this one customer slow because I was like, maybe someone else will finish in time for him to get in another line. I do not want to have a conversation with this dude. And as I'm ringing them up, this guy's holding the cantaloupe and he goes, don't start again. Don't start again. And right as I look up, he's like, you know what? We're through. And he slammed the cantaloupe down. And I know he was arguing with a cantaloupe. But in that moment, I was like, oh. This dude storms out of the store and everything. And I gotta clean the cantaloupe up. And as I'm cleaning up, I'm like, I'm sorry he hurt you. And that was just 3 days working there. 3 days working there. And I was supposed to be there for a week. And they ended up having me there for 6 months. So when I tell you I can empathize what the astronauts are going through, like some of y'all should be glad because you didn't believe in me at all. Like some of y'all, as soon as I spoke, you're like, he thinks he's an astronaut. Because even if you love space, even if you love being up there and that's your happy place and everything, which I totally get, and I hope that that's the case. I'm sure if you went up there and they told you it was going to be 8 days, that you probably had plans. It was June of 2024. I'm sure you wanted to do something else before the end of the year besides float. I'm sure they would love to. I'm going to go out on limb and say it. Probably vote in person. That probably would have been great. And now they're up there. And I even saw an article that said that they had initially said it was going to be February of 2025 when they were able to get them down. They told them that in September. And then it got pushed a little bit more, so to like March of 2025. And then I just saw an article that said that there have been some developments, and they may actually be able to go up there and get them early. If it were me, I'd be like, don't say early around me. Don't say early around me at all. Because Butch and Sonny are up there, and they're going to be returning to a very different Earth. Which might be why they so cool with being left up there. That might be it. They're probably like, nah, I'm good. I'm chilling. Don't worry about me.